We had a little excitement here in the hills. A woman was bitten by a rattlesnake in Romero Canyon, and she was medevaced out. We were right before lunch. We kept hearing all these helicopters going over, and I didn't know what it was, but that's what happened. So the heat. Everyone should be careful when the heat comes up because they are around out there. We had no idea what it was at first.
That's scary.
Yeah, it is. But
I was there once when I think it was Shakti Prana blasted a rattlesnake with a.
yes, I know. I have.
Yeah.
We have one.
Snake tastes good.
Well, I have, done that too, but it's nothing I'm going to start hunting.
No.
No. Okay, so today we're still on the chapter Instruction to the Vaishnavas and the Brahmos. And we know what the Vaishnavas are. They're Krishna worshippers. And you know what the Brahmos are. They're the new dispensation who do not want to... Actually, they're jnanis. They don't want to talk about the forms of God. So, he's giving instruction to both halves right now. The straight jnanis and the straight bhaktas. And we're on page 307. Tuesday, October 16th, 1883. Sri Ramakrishna was in his room with Rakal, Balaram's father, Benny Paul, M, Mani Malik, Ishan, Kishori, and other devotees. Master, liberal-minded devotees accept all the forms of God, Krishna, Kali, Shiva, Rama, and so on. Balaram's father. Now you have to remember, Balaram's father is a strict Vaishnavite. Yes, sir, it is like a woman's recognizing her husband, whatever clothes he wears. Master. But again, there's a thing called nishta, single-minded devotion. When the gopis went to Mathura and they saw Krishna with a turban on his head, at this, they pulled down their veils and said, "Who is this man? Where is our Krishna with the peacock feather on his crest and the yellow cloth on his body?" Hanuman also had the unswerving devotion. He came to Dwaraka in the cycle of Dwapara. Krishna said to Rukmini, his queen, "Hanuman will not be satisfied unless he sees the form of Rama." So, to please Hanuman, Krishna assumed the form of Rama. But my dear sir, I am in a peculiar state of mind. My mind constantly descends from the absolute to the relative, and again ascends from the relative to the absolute. The attainment of the absolute is called the knowledge of Brahman, but it is extremely difficult to acquire. A man cannot acquire the knowledge of Brahman unless he completely rids himself of his attachment to the world. When the Divine Mother was born as the daughter of King Himalaya, she showed her various forms to her father. The king said, "I want to see Brahman." Whereupon the Divine Mother said, "Father, if that is your desire, then you must seek the company of holy men. You must go into solitude, away from the world, and now and then live in holy company." The manifold has come. We were asked a question the other day if that can still be done, because that's what the ancient rishis did. They went into solitude, away from the world, and now and then sought each other's company and contemplated Brahman. The manifold has come from the one alone, the relative from the absolute. There is a state of consciousness where the many disappears and the one, as well. For the many must exist as long as the one exists. Brahman is without comparison. It is impossible to explain Brahman by analogy. It is between light and darkness. It is light, but not the light that we perceive, not material light. Again, when God changes the state of my mind, when he brings my mind down to the plane of the relative, I perceive that it is he who has become all these, the Creator, Maya, the living beings, and the universe. He is the master. Again, sometimes he shows me that he has created the universe and all living beings. He is the master, and the universe his garden. He is the master, and the universe and all its living beings belong to him. That is knowledge. And I am the doer, I am the guru, I am the father. That is ignorance. This is my house. This is my family. This is my wealth. These are my relatives. This also is ignorance. Balaram's father. That is true, sir. Master. As long as you do not feel that God is the master, you must come back to the world. You must be born again and again. There will be no rebirth when you can truly say, O God, thou art the master. As long as you cannot say, O Lord, thou alone art real, you will not be released from the life in the world. This going and coming, this rebirth is inevitable. There will be no liberation. Further, what can you achieve by saying, it is mine? The manager of an estate may say, this is our garden, these are our couches and furniture. But when he is dismissed by the master, he hasn't the right to take away even a chest of worthless mango wood given to him for his use. The feeling of I and mine has covered the reality. Because of this, we do not see truth. Attainment of Chaitanya, divine consciousness, is not possible without the knowledge of Advaita, non-duality. After realizing Chaitanya, one enjoys Nityananda, eternal bliss. One enjoys the bliss after attaining the state of a Paramahamsa. Vedanta does not recognize the incarnation of God. According to it, Chaitanya Deva is only a bubble of the non-dual Brahman. Do you know what the vision of divine consciousness is like? It is like the sudden illumination of a dark room when a match is struck. The incarnation of God is accepted by those who follow the path of bhakti. A woman belonging to the Kartabhaja sect observed my condition and remarked, "You have inner realization. Don't dance and sing too much." Ripe grapes must be preserved carefully in cotton. The mother-in-law lessens her daughter-in-law's activities when the daughter-in-law is with child. One characteristic of God realization is that the activities of a man with such realization gradually drop away. Inside this man, meaning Sri Ramakrishna, is the real jewel. Watching me eat, she remarked, "Sir, are you yourself eating, or are you feeding something else?" The feeling of ego has covered the truth. Narendra once said, "As the eye of man recedes, the eye of God approaches." Kedar says, "The more clay there is in the jar, the less water it holds." Krishna said to Arjuna, "Brother, you will not realize me if you possess even one of the 8 cities. These give only a little power. With healing and the like, one may do only a little good to others. Isn't that true? Therefore, I prayed to the Divine Mother for pure love only, a love that does not seek any return. I never asked for occult powers. While talking thus, Sri Ramakrishna went into samadhi. He sat there motionless, completely forgetful of the outer world. Then coming down to the sense world, he sang, "Ah, friend, I have not found him yet, whose love has driven me mad." At the Master's request, Ramlal sang a song describing how Chaitanya embraced the monastic life. Oh, what a vision I have beheld in Keshav Bharati's hut. Gora, in all his matchless grace, shedding tears in 1,000 streams. Like a mad elephant, he dances in ecstasy and sings, drunk with an overwhelming love. Rolling flat upon the ground and swimming in his tears, he weeps and shouts Lord Hari's name, piercing the very heavens with his cries, loud as a lion's roar. Then most humbly he begs man's love to feel himself the servant of God. Shorn of his locks, he has put on the yogi's ochre robe. Even the hardest heart must melt to see his pure and heavenly love, smitten by man's deep woe. He has abandoned everything and pours out love unstintingly. Oh, what would Prem Das were his slave, and passing from door to door might sing Gauranga's endless praise. The Master asked Mani Malak to quote the words of Tulsidas in the edit to the effect that one had developed love of that. Excuse me, let me start that one over. The Master asked Mani Malak to quote the words of Tulsidas to the effect that one who had developed love of God could not observe caste distinctions. Mani, the throat of the chatak bird is pierced with thirst. All around are the waters of the Ganga, the Jamuna, the Sarju, and of innumerable other rivers and lakes. But the bird will not touch any of these. It only looks up expectantly for the rain that falls from the star Svati is in the ascendant. Master, that means that love for the lotus feet of God is alone real and all else is illusory. Mani, Tulsi also said, at the touch of the philosopher's stone, the 8 metals become gold. Likewise, all castes, even the butcher and the untouchable, become pure by repeating Hari's name. Without Hari's name, the people of the 4 castes are but butchers. Master, that the hide that the scriptures forbid one to touch can be taken inside the temple after it has been tanned. Man becomes pure by repeating the name of God. Therefore, one should practice the chanting of God's name. I said to Jadu Malik's mother, in the hour of death, you will think only of worldly things, of family, children, executing the will, and so forth. The thought of God will not come to your mind. The way to remember God in the hour of death is to practice now the repetition of his name and the chanting of his glories. If one keeps up this practice, then in the hour of death, one will repeat the name of God. When the cat pounces upon the bird only squawks and does not say, Rama Rama Hare Krishna. It is good to prepare for death. One should constantly think of God and chant his name in solitude during the last years of one's life. If the elephant is put into the stable after its bath, it is not soiled again by dirt and dust. Balaram's father, Mani Malik, and Benny Paul were all elderly men. Did the Master give this instruction especially for their benefit? Master, why do I ask you to think of God and chant his name in solitude? Living in the world day and night, one suffers from worries. Haven't you noticed brother killing brother for a foot of land? The Sikh said to me, the cause of all worry and confusion is these three: land, woman, and money. You are leading a householder's life. Why should you be afraid of the world? When Rama said to Dasharatha that he was going to renounce the world, it worried his father, and the king sought counsel of Vashishta. Vashishta said to Rama, Rama, why should you give up the world? Reason with me. Is this world outside God? What is there to renounce and what is there to accept? Nothing whatever exists but God. It is Brahman alone that appears as Ishvara, Maya, living beings, and the universe. Balaram's father. It's very difficult, sir. Master. The aspirant, while practicing spiritual discipline, looks upon the world as a framework of illusion. Again, after the attainment of knowledge, the vision of God, this very world becomes to him a mansion of mirth. It is written in the books of the Vaishnavas, God can be attained through faith alone. Reasoning pushes him far away. Faith alone. Now this would be a Bhakta's path. What faith Krishna Kishore had. At Vrindavan, a low-caste man drew water for him from a well. Krishna Kishore said to him, repeat the name of Shiva. After the man had repeated the name of Shiva, Krishna Kishore unhesitatingly drank the water. He used to say, if a man chants the name of God, does he need to spend money any more on the atonement of his sins? How foolish. He was amazed to see people worshiping God with the sacred tulsi leaf in order to get rid of their illnesses. At the bathing ghat here, he said to us, please bless me, that I may pass my days repeating Rama's holy name. Whenever I went to his house, he would dance with joy at the sight of me. Rama said to Lakshmana, brother, wherever you find people singing and dancing in the ecstasy of divine love, know for certain that I am there. Chaitanya is an example of such ecstatic love. He laughed and wept and danced and sang in divine ecstasy. He was an incarnation. God incarnated himself through Chaitanya. Sri Ramakrishna sang a song describing the divine love of Chaitanya. Then Balaram's father, Mani Malik, Benipal, and several other devotees took leave of the master. In the evening, devotees from Kansaritola, Calcutta, arrived. The master danced and sang with them in a state of divine fervor. After dancing, he went into a spiritual mood and said, I shall go part of the way myself. Kishori came forward to massage his feet, but the master would not allow anyone to touch him. Ishan arrived. The master was seated, still in a spiritual mood. After a while, he became engaged in talk with Ishan. It was Ishan's desire to practice the Purusharna of the Gayatri. Purusharna is where they repeat in increasing numbers their mantra, or in this case, the Gayatri. You start with I think you start with 1,000 and go up to 15,000, then go back down to 1,000 and do that back and forth. Master to Ishan, follow your own intuition. I hope there's no more doubt in your mind. Is there any? The path of the Vedas is not meant for the Kali Yuga. The path of Tantra is efficacious. Ishan, I have almost resolved to perform an atonement ceremony. Master, do you mean to say that one cannot follow the path of Tantra? That which is Brahman is also Shakti. Kali. Knowing the secret that Kali is one with the highest Brahman, I have discarded once for all both righteousness and sin. Now, when these both righteousness and sin, in Vedanta, we don't talk about sin because we do believe every person is innately divine. We talk about ignorance. People make mistakes. They're ignorant. They don't know until something comes up. And we learn from our ignorance and continue forward towards God. Ishan, it is mentioned in a hymn in the Chandi that Brahman alone is the primal energy. Brahman is identical with Shakti. Master, it will not do to simply express that idea in words. Only when you assimilate it will all be well with you. When the heart becomes pure through the practice of spiritual discipline, then one rightly feels that God alone is the doer. He alone has become mind, life, and intelligence. We are only his instruments. Thou it is that holdest the elephant in the mire, thou that helpest the lame man scale the loftiest hill. When your heart becomes pure, then you will realize that it is God who makes us perform such rites as the Purusharna. Thou workest thine own work, men only call it theirs. All doubts disappear after the realization of God. When the devotee meets the favorable wind, then the devotee meets the favorable wind. He becomes free from worry. He is like the boatman who, when the favorable wind blows, unfurls the sail, holds the rudder lightly, and enjoys a smoke. Ishan took his leave, and Sri Ramakrishna talked with him. No one else was present. He asked him what he thought of Narendra, Rakhal, Adhar, and Hazra, and whether they were guileless, and asked the master, "What do you think of me?" You are simple and at the same time deep. It is extremely difficult to understand you. Ramakrishna laughed. Okay, when they talk about the favorable wind, we hear this, the breeze of grace is always blowing. And we have to unfurl our sails to catch the breeze of grace. But how do we unfurl our sails? By doing our spiritual practice, by being able to recognize the breeze of grace when we experience it. So often we haven't done the spiritual practice, so we don't even realize what grace we have, except in retrospect. Then we think about it a little. Are there any questions about that section? Because we're starting a new day. No questions, no comments? Sunanda?
I had one, and I can't remember who asked Ramakrishna about seeing Brahman. And I never thought of Brahman as something you would see. You know, you experience.
No, I think he says you don't exactly see Brahman, you experience it.
Right.
And there's no way to explain it because words cannot explain the unexplainable. Because as soon as we put a word to anything, we limit it. And Brahman is unlimited, eternal, and omnipresent, omniscient. Our words are like, how do you describe blue?
Yeah.
How do you describe it? It's only in relationship to other things that we have seen. But it doesn't say what it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know it's a hard one. John?
Well, by the way, I think your thing about waiting for the wind answers my question Wednesday better than we did. In other words, the wind will come. We just have to do what we need to do. It's not God.
Not will come. is always blowing.
Yeah. The thing with words is a lot like the continuum hypothesis. When you name something, according to those mystics, you've defined it. And I'll take the word red. Let's try that one. Just by itself, what shade of red, or do we mean communist? And there's no way to know that without more words, each of which has its own entropy. So greater and greater uncertainty as you go along.
That's right. But it's not when the breeze comes. We have to keep this in mind. The breeze is always blowing on everyone at all times without any favorites.
Okay, we've had a good negotiation.
Completely blowing. Always. And we stick up our sail and catch it. But we have to do our part too. It doesn't leave you stranded. Any other questions? Okay, then I will stop there because we're going to go on to November 26th, 1883. Mahayogananda is giving the talk tomorrow, and it's Have Thou No Home. I'm not sure what that's going to be about, but it should be interesting. We will have How a Shepherd Boy Became a Saint on Wednesday afternoon. We're still there. I think we'll do Premananda next, and I still haven't quite decided which book, but I will tell you Wednesday. We'll have the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna next week, Saturday. I'm sorry?
Ganga has her hand raised. Ganga has a question.
Oh, okay, Ganga, what's your question? I'm sorry, I didn't see the hand.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, so I was just waiting. Thank you, Ma. My question was actually about faith. So I love this topic because sometimes it seems when we talk about faith in Vedanta, it seems like it comes after realization, but also sometimes it seems like you need to have it as a prerequisite for realization. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm not quite phrasing this right. Hopefully, I just don't know whether faith is like something that you just kind of invest in beforehand or something that comes afterwards, or maybe both. Is faith in two different senses? I'm not sure.
Okay, well, the way I've understood it, we have to have, at some point in everyone's life, you make a leap of faith. And we make the leap of faith, whether it's complete faith or not, but we have a feeling that this is true. This is oftentimes how we get into Vedanta. We listen to some of it and we feel, now this is true, it speaks to me. Now, I can't say we have total faith, but we're willing to give it a try. And we have enough faith to pursue it. And total and absolute faith comes after you have, say, tested things that you are, tested religion. Make sure that you use your mind to discriminate and see if it makes sense to you, if it seems true. You look at what Vivekananda did. He was an absolute advocate of the truth. So he even tested Ramakrishna to make sure that there was no hidden glitch there. And he found there was none. But he had the faith when he met him that he would pursue the relationship. And he did with a great deal of questioning, a great deal of going over what Ramakrishna said. Is this really true? Is it true in all cases? Is this man pretending to be something he isn't? We all have to use, that's our faculty of discrimination, so we're not taken advantage of and just kind of go, oh, well, I believe. But the deep down, unshakable faith comes after you have done that initial leap of faith. I mean, we don't start any new endeavor without a leap of faith that we can succeed. Now, it doesn't mean that we won't have doubts along the way, but when you work on it and discriminate reason, then you can reach a point where you have an experience that gives you absolute faith, no doubts. Like they say, when you have the experience of God, all doubts cease, and the knots of the heart are cut asunder. Does that answer that, Ganga?
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much.
Okay. I mean, I can't, it's hard to define faith.
Yes, I agree. I wrestle with it all the time, just because I wonder sometimes if like the first part is more like of an intellectual sense, like you said, it's like a leap of faith. Like we have to have faith in our bus driver, to get us to where we're going. We kind of just assume that that'll be all right.
The other thing, Swami Brahmananda Rakal, when someone asked him, how do I know this is going to work? How do I know that my mantra will work? And he said, you practice what I said for 3 years, 3 months. I can't remember. I'm not good on that. I think it's 3 years. And if it has not worked, you can come and slap me in the face. But of course, it didn't take 3 years.
That's the quote that actually got me here. I read that on the back of a book, and read it on the back of Eternal Companion, and that's the quote that got me. I was like, this is wonderful. I'm going to start and look into this.
So, okay, and let's see. Pray without ceasing. Saturday the 20th, when we have the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna at 5, also that day is going to be Karma Yoga Day, from 9 a.m. to noon. And anyone who wants to come and volunteer work, come to the convent around 9, and we will probably have a quick cup of tea and then get everyone assigned to different jobs. But you're more than welcome to come. Then you have lunch with us. Go to work, go to meditate and have lunch. So 9 to noon work. Okay? And was there anything else? Any other comments or questions? Okay, then we will see you all. I'll see you next week. Okay. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat, Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Have a nice weekend. I love.